Hello and welcome to my evaluation for my final project. Uh, so my initial concept for my final project was to create a project on youth culture and to show how stereotypes affect teenagers and what it can mean for teenagers in the future. I just wanted to show like how teenagers are in society and how they're portrayed in society. So what I was trying to achieve was gain some knowledge on youth culture and to see what the impact is on teenagers and what it can mean for teenagers and what their future might be and if it could improve their future. The message I was trying to give was how teenagers are nearly opposite to the stereotypes that are placed upon them, such as like they're seen as violent, like hooligans, um, lazy, fatigue. I was trying to show how like the opposite to the stereotypes and the opposite to the things I just described. So I was targeting teenagers as my film includes teenage actors, and I was focused on youth culture, so I thought might include teenagers, which is the best thing to do. And I was targeting teenagers who have an interest in modern and urban films. So my project is relevant to them because I believe that in recent years, films which are similar to mine are like targeted at them, like teenagers aged from like 16 to 20, and they're the same age as the characters featured in my film. So for my project, the specialism I followed is social, and it is creative and allows me to use my imagination and initiative. This should help me progress in the future with further studies, as it helps me gain the basic skills required to create a film or production, and it could just genuinely help me achieve my goal, which is to become a director or producer in the future. I just needed to make sure that I was ready to achieve my ambition, so I made this short film. It's a project I'm passionate about because it gets me using my practical sense within film creating and production and working with the camera, editing, mise en scène, all of that. So the research I'd done for my final project was mainly secondary research, such as I created a short analysis of different films which are similar to the films I created, such as I analysed Kidulthood, Adulthood, the whole Kidulthood trilogy, and another film on YouTube which is called Deep It, which focuses on two young individuals aged around 19 who are living in London, showing how urban London is. The primary research I've done is my specialist study, and I've gathered some useful information from it. So within my specialist study, I analysed the short film Kidulthood, and I looked at how the film was made, what was included, what the characters were, the mise en scène, editing, and how it attracts the audience's attention. So the audience research I've done was my focus group, and I've used this information to create my final project. The information I got from this focus group was that teenagers have one specific thing in mind, and that is like stereotypes towards teenagers, and how the government doesn't like, just thinks that teenagers are all negative and have no sense of, what should I say, knowledge with upper class work. So by creating this final project, I learned a lot about youth culture and about teenagers, and I gained some knowledge in that. So hopefully that could help me in the future if I ever want to create another film similar to this. So I've gathered many characteristics and conventions from professional projects, and it's been very beneficial to me, I should say, when creating my final project. So the conventions I used a similar storyline from Kidulthood in my film, which was like the violence and the romance between two main characters, and how another elder doesn't approve of this romance, and a lot of aggression is used in that film. And so the title effects and editing I used in my project was inspired from the YouTube film called Deep It. I really liked the way the credits transitioned and the different titles and different taglines and everything, how they transitioned and worked together, which made the film look very good. So I used all these different techniques to find out if it could help my film, and it really did improve my film and made it a very good film. In my opinion, I think I planned my project really well, and because I had come up with the initial idea and I had used it, adapted it, and created it into something which I'm pleased with. And I think, yeah, I am happy and satisfied with it, because I organised my work into sections. So I would like, such as research, planning and development. So it came out better than I actually hoped. With regard to my time, I believe I managed it really well, because I had organised the sections of work that I wanted to do, so I could get it all done by the time that I wanted to get done, which made it easier for me to create my film on the deadline. So what I did was I started with my research, worked my way into the planning eventually, then finally finished my production. So the audience would be teenagers, as I mentioned before, aged around 16 to 20. They could be any gender, and they should have a slight taste in urban films, mainly British films, because my film's made in England, Britain. Or they could have an interest in youth culture topic as a whole, and hopefully would like to find out what youth culture is about, and what it could mean to them, how did they have similarities to that film, and how they can compare themselves to that film. So the feedback I got from the audience was quite good. I was quite impressed with the feedback, because my film, it was quite humorous, they said, and somehow it appeals to them. But they said I could improve it, because I think some of the footage I used and maybe some of the scenes I used were quite confusing, and they didn't understand what was going on half of the time. So they saw some parts of the film which they found quite humorous and quite funny, and they had the initial response just to clap or people to laugh at moments which I didn't think I made it funny, but I'll try to improve that in my improved final project. So the techniques I used to attract my audience was advertisements. So I went to social media such as Snapchat and Instagram, and I uploaded like the development of my film, so the audience could see how my films are getting on and how I'm developing it. So I uploaded like short clips and statements all over social media, which gained their attention. I had uploaded nearly all my clips onto Snapchat, which informed them of my project. I had manipulated representation of my project in a very negative way by showing how teenagers are violent and that everything they do tends to end in violence. Like every solution they could find would probably be aggressive violence. Just showing how dominant teenagers want to be in society. I had manipulated representation by to show how stereotypes justify a teenager with regards to violence, love, maybe showing how young and unclever they are. So I used Adobe Design to attract my audience by using a lot of different effects and edits to gather their attention. I used a lot of different colours to catch their attention as well, to catch their eye, so that I could gather them to watch the film. My film, I would say, is quite trendy and quite modern production, and I create a lot of different transitions, editing techniques. I had a lot of different title pages included as well, with a lot of transitions to get the audience intrigued into it and interested in. In my opinion, I think my product at the end became a professional project. So there was a range of different technologies I used for my project. I used Adobe InDesign, Adobe Photoshop, Adobe After Effects as well, and it was quite beneficial to me to help me create my thing. I used the PC and the camera as well. The camera was quite helpful, and yeah, that was the software I used as well. They were quite simple to operate, most everything. What I found difficult though was Adobe Premiere, because I didn't know how to like add certain edits and effects, which made it quite difficult for me to carry on doing my work, because it held me back. Yeah. But when I figured out how to do all the problems and how to overcome them, it was quite helpful. The problems that I could though was some of the footage wasn't stable, as the camera was probably just shaking around, and people just didn't like that. They couldn't see properly what was happening because the camera kept on moving around. So I had to stabilize the footage. There was like some feature on Adobe Premiere which helped me stabilize it, which was quite helpful. And the footage I included was quite blurry. For one scene, it was quite blurry. So I had to go find another feature on Adobe Premiere, which helped me improve the footage quality, which made it more clearer for them to see. The problems that also occurred was the sound. Yeah, the sound's quite a hassle, because I couldn't find the right soundtrack. And when I tried to place the soundtrack I did find, it wasn't uploading, it wasn't downloading, which made it hard. So to choose a different one and use a different converter to upload all my sound. But I overcome that by finding some certain soundtrack and music, which was quite helpful. The other problem that I countered was the software, Adobe Premiere mostly, would crash midway, which was quite annoying because I didn't get to edit what I wanted to during the lessons, and it held me back from doing the rest of my work. So for me not to lose my work, I initially saved as I went along, which helped me a lot. So I just knew that I had most of my work saved. It was a huge relief to me. The skills I have developed throughout this project and this year was I've learned how to use Adobe Premiere, Adobe After Effects and Adobe Photoshop, and it's quite good in the sense that if I want to become a producer or director, I'll have to learn how to edit all the footage, which I'm learning right now, and it's quite good. And I can use it to make like posters and different advertisements. And so, to be honest, I've improved my production skills and increased my knowledge from my final project. So I believe that throughout this whole project, I've gained some skills which should help me in the future, and I have finally created my final project, which is a good thing, and it was quite a good experience creating this final project, because the production that came out was, well, I in my opinion, I think it was good, and others think it was good as well from the feedback that I got, and it gave me a sense that like you have to work hard for what you want, and that a lot of time and effort is put in, and for you to meet the deadlines for the whole project to work, you could put your head down and get to it. And it gives me a sense of how hard I have to work to get what I want. So if I want to be a producer or a director, I have to work hard, I have to learn all these different softwares, and I have to edit really well, I have to work well with different other people, I have to work as a team, I have to make sure I'm getting my point across, and that I know how to edit properly, and how to function everything properly, what software to use. I have to make sure that I'm ready for basically anything, I'm prepared for anything. So overall, I think this project was good, very good.